Hey, what's up guys, Radku here, back with another Yu-Gi-Oh video, and today is going to be an update to Sky Strikers. Now, I've actually been testing this deck out a lot, and it's actually been super good. Like, I have a pretty high win rate with this deck. I still will never understand why Sky Strikers is so good, but like, it is. Like, I've gotten a steady win streak because of this deck, and I very much enjoy it. So without further ado, let's jump right into the deck. Starting things off, I played 3 copies of Sky Striker Ace Ray. Now this card has a lot of combos in this deck, just like this single card. Its effect is quick effect. You contribute this card special summon a Sky Striker monster from your extra deck, which is actually really good because it's a 1-card Zeke, which a lot of people don't actually do. Like, not a lot of people actually remember that, because it doesn't specify special summon a Link 1, it just says special summon a Sky Striker Ace Link monster. But its secondary effect is while this card is in your graveyard, if face-up Sky Striker Ace Link monster you control is destroyed by battle or leaves the field because of an opponent's card effect, you can special summon this card. So 1, it's got some crazy recurrence, and 2, that quick effect to tribute is super broken, because the thing is that you can quick effect go into, or you can battle, attack, tag out, and then do more damage with Hayate and gain more advantage. Or there's another combo where you can just activate airspace area 0, summon Ray, use the effect of Area 0, targeting Ray, then Ray quick effect destroys itself, or quick effect tributes itself, special summons a card, then you don't have to pay the cost for Area 0. It's really good, but that's just like the bare minimum of this deck, and this deck is just so insane. I played 2 copies of Sky Striker Ace Rose. This card's just another card for a starter. So, the reason I play 2 copies is because it isn't as good as Ray, and you really want to draw into Ray more, plus you don't really want to draw into 2 of your Sky Striker monsters / starter cards, because this deck really relies on its normal summon. Basically, I don't even think I'm gonna read the effect. It's literally just here so that you can, have another starter card. Like, it's not even that good. You could actually skip on Rose, but it ups the consistency of the deck if you put Rose in it, which is why I do. But Rose isn't exactly the best, but it's still really good as a starter card. I played 3 copies of Ash, 3 copies of Skullmeister, 3 copies of DD Crow, and 2 copies of Nibiru. First of all, Ash hits everything. It hits Eldritch, it hits Virtual World, it hits Drytron, it hits literally every single deck. It even hits Altergeist, so Ash is mandatory. Skullmeister hits Virtual World surprisingly well. It hits Drytron pretty well because it stops its recurrence, and it hits Eldritch especially. DD Crow hits everything, because just banishing your opponent's cards from the graveyard means it can't recur stuff, and a lot of the Virtual World combos result in you sending their synchros to the graveyard. So if you can banish their synchros before they actually get a playoff, that's really good. You're just able to stop them completely. I played 2 copies of Nibiru because people don't realize that Virtual World and Drytron summon a crap ton. If the top 2 decks of the format summon a ton, then it's fine to play Nibiru. Look, I understand that it's not the best card of the format. Sure, it's not the best hand trap of the format. Sure, Ash Blossom will still be forever. But Nibiru is really good. Like, you can easily stop Virtual World combos with Nibiru, and you can easily stop Drytron with Nibiru, as long as you can get it off before they summon their Vanity's Ruler. You're fine. Like, seriously. But 2 copies of Nibiru is what I'm at. You could cut Nibiru for something like Ghost Bell, but I feel like Skullmeister and DD Crow are way better than Ghost Bell, so it doesn't really matter, because DD Crow can counteract the banish for cost stuff, because that happens a lot this format, so this can actually stop them from this can stop their effects because you can banish it before they can get their effects off, and Skullmeister is really just so that you can negate their effects in the graveyard. So that is it for the monsters. Going into the spells, I play 2 copies of Sky Striker Airspace Area 0. This is also one of your starter cards. You have a lot of starters in this deck, and you have a lot of consistency cards. You have your Rose, you have Ray and Rose, you have your Area 0, which I'll explain why I only play 2. You have your Hornet Drones, you have Reinforcements of the Army, you have Terraforming, and you have Pot of Desires as another consistency card. This deck is fairly consistent, like you'll be able to get into your combos more often than not. But the reason I play 2 Area 0 is because it's just not good at 3. You can play it at 3, but the problem is you risk bricking by drawing into too many of your starter cards, and that's just not good. This card is great for combo plays to get into your cards, but the problem is it's useless if you draw into more than one of it. I played 2 copies of Mystic Mine. Sky Striker has become nothing more than a glorified Mystic Mine deck. That's why this deck goes second so well, on top of the fact that you can't really get your effects off if you go first. But, like, seriously, Mystic Mine, 2 copies, busted. I don't care what anybody says, Mystic Mine is still a legitimate card for this deck because it's just broken. I played 3 copies of Shark Cannon. Shark Cannon and Widow Anchor are the 2 main cards of the deck. The deck would literally be unplayable if it wasn't for these 2 cards, because these 2 cards are really the control aspect of the deck. They're not once per turns, and they can selectively Monster Reborn and Snatch Steal cards your opponent has. I'm not sure if it's Snatch Steal, I'm pretty sure. It's something. You can steal your opponent's monsters and negate their effects, on top of the fact that you can with Shark Cannon, banish their cards or special summon it to your field, which is crazy. So basically, this becomes a DD Crow, and this just becomes a free negate. Like, this card's just amazing. But 3 copies of each is mandatory, because they're the best cards in the deck. I played 2 copies of Afterburners, and 2 copies of Jamming Waves. So the reason I play 2 of each is because, the thing is that this, Jamming Waves is actually pretty good. Like, people underestimate it because most decks now either don't set stuff in the back row or just don't do anything. But, like, Jamming Waves is still pretty good. Like, you could cut it down to 1, sure, it would quote-unquote up the consistency, but I just really like it at 2. It's just a really good card. Then I played 1 copy of Multi-Roll. If only we could get Multi-Roll to 2, but that's never gonna happen because it gains way too much advantage for the deck, even though it's searchable, so yeah. I play 1 copy of Hornet Drones, 1 copy of Rhoda, 1 copy of Terraforming, 1 copy of Feather Duster, and 1 copy of Upstart. Hornet Drones is just another starter card. Reinforcement is to search Ray. Terraforming is to search your Area 0, or your Mystic Mine if you're trying to end your turn. Feather Duster is just to get rid of all your opponent's cards if you come across a mirror match, because this deck has a rough mirror match, because it just depends on who's going first and who's going second, because sure, this deck does have the access code play, but the problem is you're gonna be a bit tired, and at that point it's just whoever went first is the one who's gonna win, or the one who's gonna lose, because they had the least amount of attacks. So yeah. 1 copy of Upstart, because draw. I play 3 copies of Pot of Desires. This card's amazing in this deck. Like, people don't play it because of the quote-unquote -9, but the thing is that it's a draw 2. You play 3 of all the cards you really need in the deck, and even if you banish any of your 1-ofs, or even any of your 2-ofs, you'll still live. Sure, Mystic Mine getting banished would be quite a loss, but that would be fine. This deck can play perfectly without Mystic Mine. And then I play 1 copy of Pot of Avarice, because this deck actually does do... Okay, I'm not going to say it does link spam, but it does do link plays. Because at the end of your turn, you're always going to have an additional 2 to 3 link monsters in your graveyard, on top of the fact that recurring your hand traps is pretty good. So that is it for the main deck. Going into the extra deck. The extra deck, these 3 cards are absolutely mandatory. You need to play 3 Hayate, 3 Kagari, and 3 Shizuka. This is literally the heart and soul of the Sky Striker deck. Hayate ditches cards from the deck to the graveyard, especially Sky Striker Ace cards, so this can actually search your Sky Striker card. So this can actually search your array if you really wanted to, but that's not the best use of this card. Kagari in tandem with Hayate. Kagari gets the cards back from the graveyard. Then you go into Shizuka. Shizuka is like the least important, but this is the usually the card you're going to end on, because it lowers your opponent's monster's attack, and it gets you a final search at the end of your turn. So really, one of your main plays is going to be normal summon Sky Striker Ace Ray, maybe activate an area space 0 to try to pop Ray. You'll banish 3, or you'll excavate 3, add like a Sky Striker card. Let's say you add a Shark Cannon to your hand. Then you're going to have to pay the cost, but then you're going to quick effect to Array, go into Hayate, use Hayate, attack directly. Then you're going to ditch a Widow Anchor. Then you're going to go into Kagari, get back that Widow Anchor. Then you're gonna go into Shizuka, then go to end phase. Shizuka will give you 1 more search of a card. You're probably gonna search an Afterburners, a Jamming Waves, or a multi-roll, just as a basic play. But now you have 2 disruptions in the form of Shark Cannon and Widow Anchor, and depending on where you're at in your turn, you'll have plenty of spells in your graveyard so that you can freely abuse their effects. I played 2 copies of Kaina. This card's... it's okay. The reason I play it at 2 is because it's actually pretty good, but it's not good for the reasons you would think. It's not like the other Sky Striker Ace cards where you gain advantage off of their effects with their Sky Striker spells, but like, it's still pretty good. So if this card is special summon, you can target 1 face-up card your opponent controls that cannot attack until the end of the turn. So that's actually your opponent's turn. So that's actually really good because this is like an out to access code until you can get to something. Like, let's say you're on your last leg, your opponent has 1500 life points left, and they have an access code on the field. You summon Kaina, then you can stop your opponent from attacking, then end phase go into Shizuka, so that way you just have a little bit of protection left. You can end your turn there. Your opponent doesn't really have anything to do. Comes back to your turn, you go into your Hayate and swing for game. Like, this deck is more of a slow and steady deck, but it does die to some negation, so there's that. I play 1 copy of Zeke. Zeke isn't as good as the rest of them, but it's still pretty good as another target. 1, to go into for Ray, because no one pays attention, and 2, because this actually helps you link climb into your access code. Speaking of which, 1 copy of access code, just generic. 1 copy of Hita, because this card can special summon like your opponent's Ash Blossom from the graveyard, and it helps you link climb into your access code. And 1 copy of Long Gearsu. I feel like I'm an idiot, but like I couldn't remember which Link 3 card, so I just have this in here as a placeholder. Don't actually play Long Gearsu. But yeah, that's pretty much it for the deck. I'll go over the side deck real quick. I played 3 copies of Lancia for the, Eldritch matchup, 3 copies of Dimensional Barrier for the Zodiac matchup, 3 copies of Evenly Match for every matchup, especially combo decks. This kills a Virtual World pretty well, but the problem is they can still save their true King of all calamities. 3 copies of Mask of Restrict for your Drytron matchup, and then 3 copies of Cosmic Cyclone, because, Eldritch. But yeah, that's pretty much it for the deck. Please like, subscribe, share, comment, and let me know what you thought, and let me know if there's anything you would change about the deck. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I'll see you in the next Yu-Gi-Oh video. Peace, guys.